the current heel character that he was portraying at the time is, since we did mention there earlier that he was like doing this heel run at the time, but what we're referring to is this was during his feud with Rey Mysterio. So because of that, I guess Eddie had felt that if he had put him over and Eddie tapped out and stuff, I guess that would kind of like kill his character. So I guess that was his concern. So yeah, because there's also some parts where like even early in the beginning, where Eddie was like kind of like walking on the outside and was kind of like, just seemed like he was kind of stalling. I guess a little bit in the beginning, but you know, I think it was that, and towards the end, it was also getting a lot harder on him, like physically.
Oh yeah, of course.
Like you could actually tell, like he was never bad. Like he was always like great.
Oh God, no, he's that. Like just
yeah, like no, he was always great, but you could tell towards the end that he was starting to slow down. I think he was just breaking down just physically, and it's just sad. It's sad to watch, but no, he always gave it his all.
Yeah.
But I went with 3 1/4 on this. How would you rate this one?
Probably, I'll just go 3. Like I said, good match. It was okay.
Yeah, so Chris Benoit would pick up the win here. And then following that, Joe Gertner would be back. And he came up this time to Eric Bischoff and the Raw Invaders, or the Crusaders.
Begging for a job.
Yeah, he'd beg him for a job, and then he didn't have his working papers. And then Bischoff would ask, I guess, the Raw guys what they thought about this, and they're all laughing, and they're all laughing about it. And then Bischoff, Vic, hell no, I'm not hiring you.
And he threw beer on him.
Uh-huh.
That was funny. You got all the heels laughing their ass off at it. You know, it was just funny.
Mm-hmm. And then he'd also say that Raw was the top wrestling show, which that was weird how he'd say that with the SmackDown guys up there. I'm surprised they didn't take issue with that.
Why didn't he just say WWE?
Yeah. Yeah, because at that point, it's like, well, if I were the SmackDown guys, I'd be like, hey, wait a minute here. We're supposed to be here, like, messing with their show. We're supposed to be like a union here. Yeah, because I remember Joey Styles would then, like, he'd have the line, like, when they come back, and he'd be like, well, Bischoff sure knew how to hire, and he made the right call there.
Yeah.
That was funny. So then next we'd have Masato Tanaka versus Mike Awesome.
Holy shit, they beat the hell out of each other.
Yeah, the rivalry between these two back in the day was intense, but this was another great match they'd have.
This was match of the night.
Yeah, Styles would spend some time during Awesome's entrance running him down for leaving ECW as champion for WCW. And then,
So
I don't know if I want to say this next part.
Okay.
Well, these two would just start brawling from the opening bell, and then there would be the suicide dive for Mike Awesome, which would lead to Styles saying out of frustration about the Mike Awesome thing. This is just a shoot at here. He's like, it's a damn shame he didn't take his own life, which, yikes, in hindsight, because 2 years later he would actually take his own life, Mike Awesome. But then from there, things would get taken to the next level. There was the Awesome Bomb off the top through the table, propped up on a guardrail. And then there were some chairs that were brought into play, and then Mike Awesome would just dent one on Tanaka's head. He knocked the shit out of him with those chair shots. I mean,
it was brutal. Like it was the chair shots where you hear it and you go, "Oh my god!"
Those are some of the worst chair shots to the head I've ever seen in my life.
Those were concussions. Like those were.
Yeah, those are wild. And then there was another spot where there was the tornado DDT through the table from Tanaka and Awesome. Then there's another Awesome Bomb falling back on the top, and then onto the broken remains of the table. And then there's the final spot where Mike Awesome would hit the Awesome Bomb through the table on the outside, and then he'd follow up with the dive, and then he'd cover him for the 3 count.
Match of the night. They beat the hell out of each other. It was really good.
Yeah, 9 minutes, 52 seconds, 3 3/4 from you. Hell, I gave this one a 4. This is I don't want, no pun intended, but this was an awesome match. I don't want to say that because it sounds too cliche. That's why I said no pun intended.
Yeah, great match. Really loved it. And then next we would get to the fun stuff.
Yeah, so the ECW theme music would hit, and then it would just seem like we were getting ready to set up for the main event. But no, out would come none other than Paul Heyman.
Otherwise known in this arena as Paulie Dangerously.
Yes. And he would have some words to say, which we're going to get into here. So there would be thank you, Paul chants from the crowd. He'd look very emotional, actually. And then there'd be some more ECW chants from the crowd. And Paul Heyman would say, I want you to know that I'm not crying. My eyes are red because I was in the back smoking a joint with Van Dam.
Gotta love Paul.
I have a need in my heart to thank Todd Gordon for giving me a chance to be creative and book for you crazy bastards. I have a need to thank that man, Ron Buffone, and his partner, Chris Brucesi, for sticking with us and sitting in a TV studio and building that TV show for you. And you are the craziest bastards I've ever met in my life, and I love each and every single one of you. I was going to take the high road and just say thank you and leave. And Mick Foley's like, don't take the high road, Paul. But I have something to say to you.
Great moment.
I've waited a long time to say this to you, Eric Bischoff. But in case you didn't notice, it's not Paul Heyman with his tail between his legs going to a WCW pay-per-view. You are in our house, bitch. And then Bischoff would flick him off.
That was funny by Bischoff.
Bischoff did a great job playing up the heel role in this whole thing. I mean, the heat was obviously there, you know, with the crowd and whatnot, but I mean, he did a great job.
Oh, Bischoff was awesome. Bischoff's great at being the heel. That's like...
No, I love Bischoff. I love Bischoff as a character.
Especially in WWE as the GM. He was probably the best Raw GM.
Oh, it's not even... I don't even think it's a question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so no, he did a great job with that, but... I remember actually, I heard that... I heard apparently there was a rumor that actually when they were going to do the reboot of ECW, like just to mess with everybody, they had actually considered bringing in Eric Bischoff to be the GM. That was actually an idea.
That would have been hilarious.
So, the next Paul would go, well, this was, you know, he'd get tons of cheers and the crowd would continue to chant ECW again. So then next Paul would go, oh, wait a minute. Hide your wives. It's Edge. And the crowd would begin to chant, you screwed Matt to Edge, as he'd laugh and start drinking his beer. And then Paul Heyman would say, now I know nobody with a written promo has the balls to say this to you, but I have 2 words for you. Matt freaking Hardy.
And then Edge spit out his beer and went, that's 3. That's 3.
And then the crowd would chant, we want Matt. So then Paul Heyman would say, well, I almost forgot about you, Mr. Shoot Promo himself. Bounce checks, ECW went out of business. Hey, John, on a personal note, from all of us to you, since you want to shoot cowboy, the only reason you were WWE champion for a year is because Triple H didn't want to work Tuesdays.
Which I think is probably the most accurate statement ever.
Yeah, because that was the thing. At that time in 2004, it's like they went with JBL, which, don't get me wrong, JBL is a great heel. I'm not taking that away from him whatsoever. And I thought he did his part as champion during that time period. And I thought he was like a great heel for that time, and he played wonders in the role of John Cena's rise to the top. But yeah, because I remember in 2004 they did that thing where Triple H was supposed to go to SmackDown, and they ended up having to do that like trade or whatever, where they sent Booker T and the Dudleys over to SmackDown, and I guess that was enough for Triple H to get sent back to Raw. But yeah, had Triple H been on that show, I mean, yeah, Triple H would have been the top heel, obviously. So had he'd been on that show on Tuesdays when they taped SmackDown, yeah, I don't see how JBL would have ever gotten that opportunity. But he did, and he made the most of it. Yeah, so then JBL would just he would just try to mock it like up in the balcony with I don't know what he was trying to do. Looked like he was trying to like fake a heart attack or something.
I don't know. He was doing whatever he could to look like he wasn't offended, even though he was.
So then Paul Heyman would go, now one more time, for old time's sake, right here, so the whole world can see us. This ain't WCW. This ain't Monday Night Raw. This ain't even SmackDown. This ain't even WWE. This, my friend, is ECW.
Yeah.
And then he'd
Great
leave.
moment. Then they play the music, and he walks off. Great moment.
Yes. Absolutely. So then that would leave us here to the main event of the evening, a tag team match which would see the Dudley Boys face the Sandman and Tommy Dreamer.
Yep.
So,
really, just a really cool match in general. A lot of cameos.
Yes, for sure. So the Dudleys would come out with their, I guess you could say their old style ECW tie-dye gear. And then Tommy Dreamer would he'd come out, he'd be kind of moved by like the whole environment and everything. And then the Sandman would enter Sandman, which unfortunately, since we had gone back and watched this on the network, it was edited to a different version of a Sandman song, which it's not bad. It's better than the one he used when he was in the WWE. But
for sure, yeah.
If had we been able to get the Enter Sandman version of his entrance, and you could tell how rowdy the crowd was. That had been one of the craziest entrances ever.
Yep.
Would have loved to have been there in person for it.
So would I.
So, so then they'd make their way to the ring, and as we prepare to start the match, both guys would show respect by bumping fists. And then before the bell, the music of the BWO would hit to a massive pop. And out came Big Stevie Cool, Hollywood Nova, and the Blue Meanie.
They cut a promo, they do the "we're taking over" and all that. Oh, they're just so hilarious.
And Joey Styles would fall out laughing the whole entire time.
Mm-hmm.
So then Bischoff's reaction to it was also great. Then Joey Styles would have the line of, he had the line, I think it was, where he's like, if there's ever anything, or if there's ever like a group, or I forgot how he phrased it, but he's basically saying like, if there's ever anything that didn't deserve to draw a dime, but then brought in a whole boatload of cash,
it was the BWO.
Yeah, and then he said the best part is they couldn't sue us because it was a parody.
Yeah, right. That must have pissed WCW off so much.
I know. So then, they'd do what you said. They'd come out there. They'd do the Stevie Richards, Big Stevie Cool. He'd do the shtick where he'd be like, "We're taking over," and then he'd do the Stevie Kick the Sandman, which would ignite a brawl, and then they'd all beat up on Tommy and Sandman. Then out would come Kid Cash, who would quickly get thrown out. That was kind of a waste. Then out would come Axl Rotten and Balls Mahoney, and for the crowd to chant Balls every single time, he's doing the punches. And then Nova took a really bad unprotected chair shot.
Yeah.
And then Joey Styles had the line of, that's almost as painful as playing Simon Dean on national television. So then Kid Cash would deliver a springboard moonsault senton onto everyone off the referee's back. The assist, which he'd famously do going back to his ECW days. So then from there, the match would officially begin. What a bunch of chaos.
Oh, it was amazing.
So a lot of weapons and violence involved. I think Tommy Dreamer would get busted open within a minute of the match beginning, and of course Sandman's already busted open because he busted himself open in the entrance with a beer can.
It was so funny. I love that. It's just so great every time he does it.
So then